This is All India Radio Bangalore and Bhadravati. We now present an interview with Dr. K. Shivaram Karanth, a versatile Kannada writer and a well-known exponent of the Yakshagana art. The interviewer is Sri V. M. Inamda.
Mr. Karanth, I'm very happy that I have this occasion to talk to you about the work you have done in the sphere of the Yakshagana. And before I ask you any specific question in that connection, I would like to know one thing. In your early work, you did a lot of experiment in the Gita Nataka, and obviously you seem to have given it up. May I know what made you give it up?
It's not a question of giving up as such. There was a period when I was experimenting with various mediums. And one of the mediums was pure music. So I took up opera, mostly in classical Hindustani music. And they were all produced, the plays were produced, and there was some satisfaction. With the operas, the trouble came when you wanted amateurs to take it up for long. And each person's voice is suited to a different drone, and to get a set of people for one drone so that the opera may go on, it was rather difficult. And to train up with the assistance of other musicians and so on was difficult. And also the period of my experimentation by then was over, and just it rested and didn't try more.
No, I asked the question because nobody else seems to have taken up that work, and my feeling is that writing and production in that sphere of dramatic art is unfortunately very poor in our midst. Why do you think nobody else has taken it up?
There are one or two who have taken up, but they are on a different lines from the experiments I conducted. The experiments that were done by some of the friends were on the lines of stringing up different songs into the form of an opera, whereas I was taking music as an architectural piece where each individual bit may not have a separate existence as a song, but formed only a part of the entire theme. In that form, nobody else had attempted.
Well, that's something unfortunate that such a form should not have been taken up. And very many people have been impressed by the work you have done in the sphere of the Yakshagana particularly. Could you tell me what led you to your research and experiment in the field of the Yakshagana?
In fact, during the process of experimentation with the dramatic medium itself, I had tried various forms of ballet as such, operas as such, pure prose dramas as such, shadow plays were there. There was the curiosity to experiment the possibilities of each medium and see what things it can depict and what things it cannot depict. And my own village heritage consisted of Yakshagana. And after experimenting ballets with the background of Hindustani music, I thought this would be another worthwhile experiment. So I took up Yakshagana as a ballet. That would be in terms of dance and music. But Yakshagana had a music content which was linked to the song form and therefore to literature too. So I had a number of experiments done in this medium.
In your well-known book, the Yakshagana Biolata, you refer to a manuscript of the middle of the 16th century. Has any of your later work in the sphere discovered anything that pushes back the antiquity of that form?
So far I have not come across any authentic manuscript or other relevant material giving me an earlier date.
Have you formed any idea about how possibly this composite art form, the Yakshagana, originated?
It would be mere guesswork.
But even then it would be valuable. Some kind of a hypothesis.
Some of the songs contained in it lead to us that it was conceived as a play narrated by a person called the Bhagavata or the devotee of Bhagavata, and he introduces two characters, Rama and Krishna, on the stage and then goes to say, hereafter you shall see the play. And the play concludes by saying, Rama and Krishna have played their part as avatars and please receive them home. So, probably originally the religious idea of presenting an avatar before the minds of the people in drama form must have led to this particular form of Yakshagana.
Yes, that's an idea. In fact, most art forms derive their origins in the religious beliefs of the people. But could you give me an idea of the main features of the experiments that you have conducted in the sphere of the Yakshagana? I mean, the kind of changes that you have tried to introduce and the enhanced effect that you seek to achieve by those changes.
While conducting the ballets, I was taken by two chief elements in the drama. I mean the two mediums of that particular form. One was its musical form, where the particular style lent itself to the expression of various emotions, and that formed the number of musical patterns suited to joy, sorrow, anger, and all these things. Then there was the other medium, dance, with which I had experimented in other ballet forms. These two mediums attracted me very much, and I wanted to exploit to the utmost the possibility of each medium become the sole conveyor of a dramatic theme. That is why I took up the ballet form, and independent of it, there was a musical form of it, as I had experimented in classical Hindustani music and its use in the opera form. I had also experimented only just once, and that too was for the All India Radio, Bangalore, Yakshagana as opera. We are conversant with the normal form where this whole thing is a mixture of spoken prose, dance, and music, where the narrator and the artist jumps from one medium to the other. At this moment, he gives you his emotional experience in terms of dance, then stops it in terms of spoken prose, and there is the background music and all that. I wanted a consistent medium from the beginning to the end to convey the dramatic content of a theme.
That's right. That's an excellent idea, that there should be no jumping from one medium to another, and the spectator should experience a smooth transition from one to the other. But what were exactly the concrete steps that you took in order to achieve this kind of a...
When it was the ballet form, its musical component, that the Yakshagana style of music with its drumming and all that, was there. Then I left off the prose so that from the beginning of the play to the end of it, music sustained, and music in song form. That means Vedetu literature was there. And then took up dance to go along with it from beginning to end. And there was a gap. In the sense, this dance form evolved to a particular stage, the stage of footwork, and just rhythmic body gestures, but not enough to convey the literary contents of the theme. The literary contents of the theme in other modes of dance like Bharatanatyam or say Kathakali were actually transgesturization of each word spoken. That means dance performing the same function as that of spoken prose. This element I was not satisfied. I take dance as a rhythmic form, not necessarily functioning as a language. So naturally, I had to develop its rhythmic content for conveying the emotional theme. So this element had to be developed in order to make the ballet successful. And then again, in respect of its music, it depended upon certain of the instruments and the Bhagavat singing throughout. This was done and is still being done in a manner unrelated to the content of the music. The song patterns may be sorrow, joy, heroism, anger or anything, but the beating of the drum or the cymbals would not go along with it. They would pound the cymbals in the same pitch both for sorrow and joy. Same as they came with the drum. So all these elements had to be subdued or enhanced to suit the musical content of the theme. So these were numerous experiments. And then again, there was another thing. The song went on in the mouth of the Bhagavat to the accompaniment of the cymbal and drum. Many a time, ignoring the thought and literary content of the song itself. The Bhagavat was not experiencing the emotion himself. He was only giving the words whose meaning we could follow. I wanted him to experience the emotions, and it made it necessary for even his own cymbals and the drum to experience and show that way. In that way, they were thorough new departures, not irrelevant with the function of art, but rather absolutely necessary to exploit its full capacity as a medium.
Well, your stress has been obviously on music and dance, and my own feeling is that in your experiment you have banished the spoken word from the Yakshagana. I say this because my own feeling is that the extempore brilliance of dialogue in the Yakshagana is a very essential feature of the art, and by just banishing it away, you are taking out one of its main sources of appeal. What do you say to that?
In a composite art, when you have got 3 or 4 mediums, my concern as a creative artist is to exploit each medium to its full and not mix up things. The traditional Yakshagana will go on in spite of me. I have no grudge against it, nor do I disparage the worth of prose and beautiful extempore things. I am concerned with its creative ability as an unbroken medium. So my experiment will be one more bit of experiment to the old tradition, taken from their own portfolio and not created.
There is a feeling that by doing so, that is by banishing the spoken word, you have impoverished the traditional form of art and you have reduced it to nothing more than an unorthodox form of Kathakali. Do you agree, or of course you don't agree, but what have you to say about it?
The question is, my doing it doesn't change over the traditional stage in any manner. That traditional stage will go on. I am feeling that I have added one more thing. And my deeper interest is to make Yakshagana cross the frontiers of language. And then crossing the frontier of language is only possible when you eliminate the linguistic barrier. It may have wider appeal, though not it may cater to local taste. And so far Kathakali is concerned, I have already said, Kathakali is transgesture of the spoken word, and my rhythmic movements have no relation to it whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Karanth. It has been a very enlightening talk with you, and I'm grateful to you for it.
You have just heard an interview with Dr. K. Shivaram Karanth on his experiments in Yakshagana. Sri V.M. Inamda was the interviewer. This broadcast came to you from All India Radio Bangalore and Bhadravati.